Welcome back. We are having a conversation on the pension sector outlook and the 2022 elections. I'm joined by Mr. Simon Wafubwa, who is the CEO of Enwealth, to have this conversation. Before we went for the break, Mr. Wafubwa was telling us, if you eat your future will come back and eat you. Welcome back, Simon.
Thank you. Yes.
And I hope that Kenyans are not eating their future, as it were, because we wouldn't want them eaten.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we find ourselves sometimes highly consumptive. Yeah, the consumption levels is very high, and that is a huge struggle in terms of saving.
Consumption versus savings.
Yes.
And we are more of a consumer community.
Correct. Yeah.
Before we went on break, you had alluded to something very interesting.
Yes.
I found it most interesting, that you can have a pension package that includes income,
Yes.
that has housing,
Yes.
and that has
Medical.
health component.
Correct.
Could you explain, first of all, is this available in Kenya already? And does it mean then that someone gets to pay more than what they usually contribute to pensions normally? And in what way then does it's like one, just explain it so that we get to understand it better.
So, by way of responding to sustainable social security, Government of Kenya put in place a legislative framework that allows those who are saving to contribute towards their health care. By law in the RBA Act is already provided. Pension schemes are now providing the same in their trust deed and rules. And service providers are guiding trustees and providers of at different levels in terms of implementation. Last year, the mortgage regulations were brought in, which provides that a member can use up to 40% of their savings, both employer-employer together, and up to a maximum of 7 million for home ownership. And you can also do additional voluntary contributions in the pension scheme for the same purpose. And then, of course, the normal savings that you can access at retirement for the purpose of income replacement. So this is already available, and pension schemes are implementing, and also service providers like Enwealth Financial Services are at the forefront of execution to create value for the members.
Yeah. So the pension service providers, I would understand, work in tandem with perhaps some medical insurance companies.
Correct.
To ensure that I am covered now and in my retirement.
Correct, because dignity would require that you have cash at retirement. You can't depend on, long are the days gone where you depend on your children as your pension. That Elisha.
No, on the contrary, you said that you are going to take care of grandchildren.
Yeah, it's come the other way around. And then two, you need medical. And then you need a house. So in response to that need, regulations have been put in place to facilitate members to benefit from this in the pension sector.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. In terms of investment or investing the pensions, I think now, because you are a service provider, you'd know this better. In what areas are you guys investing? What asset classes are you guys investing in? So
primarily it's in government securities. I think the industry should be around 60 to 65%, and that's treasury bonds and treasury bills. But the risk in there is that depending on which government and the economic model that comes in, is the pressure on interest rates. Because if the interest rates go up, then the value of the bonds may as well be eroded. And that is one area that pension schemes are carefully looking at to proactively mitigate the interest rates possibility in terms of shifts, depending on which government. Remember, currently the interest rates regime, we have maintained it fairly well, but if the government comes in with a new government comes in with a different economic philosophy, then that's a huge risk.
Would you favor, sorry to cut you short, but on the interest rates, would you favor lower interest rates in the country as it were right now?
Yeah, because of course, it in a way it stabilizes both macroeconomic fundamentals of the nation. We borrow hopefully cheaply. I think some have also been arguing that we can't have access. But there's always a realignment of the forces of supply-demand. Yeah, we always will have a midpoint.
I mean, someone mentioned that when President Kibaki came to power, what he did is just he made sure that he lowered the interest rate significantly.
Yeah.
So the bank had to chase you and I
to
give us money.
Correct.
And so we benefited
Correct.
from very cheap loans.
Yes.
But in the process, the bank expanded significantly. And I think that's the time that the likes of Equity Bank and Barclays went to the streets.
Yes.
And they expanded significantly. So their profitability also
went up.
And on the other hand, the government had better GDP to report to Kenyans. So it was a win-win-win.
Correct.
I keep wondering why the MPC has maintained it at the same place without at least trying to bring it down. But sorry, I had cut you short. You were talking about asset classes.
Yeah, so the other asset class that is predominant is equities. So the industry should be around 20%, up or down, but just around 20%. We have a small component, perhaps of around less than 5% in offshore, and real estate is a big hit because of COVID. The returns are extremely depressive. In fact, some pension schemes that are in real estate have had negative returns in that asset class, because when tenants vacate, they can't pay, you are expecting cash flow, so that is a huge struggle. So real estate perhaps just about 8%, and that includes, that's if you remove NSSF. If you add NSF, that number goes up, slightly goes up. And then private equity is still a very low, insignificant exposure, just less than 2%.
Are there regulations that stop you guys from investing in private equity? Because most of the time I see many of you love government securities.
I guess it's because the conservative nature
of the pension management
schemes. You want to see safety, and when you risk align on the risk scale on the asset class for private equity, is much higher than equities, and so you wouldn't want your blood pressure to oscillate with the stock market movement.
I hear you.
Yeah, especially for a retiree. So, and that pressure for just balanced return, fair, and moderate, is where I find most pension schemes are playing. And also it's got to do, yes, private equity can deliver very high good return, but we haven't had enough education to appreciate, both at the trust level and also the member level, to appreciate the opportunities that exist in that space. And so when you go into private equity and you say, no, we delivered a negative return, but it's temporal, it's unrealized, that's a language that may not understand. We don't have a high level of tolerance and patience for that.
But even equities, even at the listed equities, I know pension schemes are still very wary.
We are playing into what we call defensive stocks.
The big boys, as it were.
Absolutely. That's where we are parking cash. But when you look at even other sectors, not so much of the exposure in that sector. But I think as the market continues to grow, there is pressure for diversification and also to create new avenues, new products through NSC to be able to enhanced diversification as part of the portfolio risk mitigation on investments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Negative returns on real estate, huh?
Yeah, but it's real. You bought a property maybe at 100 million, and in the valuation model, you captured rental income, and now there is no rent. So when you do valuation, the value of that asset has come down because there is no cash flow in the discounted cash flow model. And so you book that because assets in the pension scheme has to be marked to fair value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think in any way that the elections will affect the pension management in the country? And if yes, to what extent?
Yeah, not to so much of an extent. Of course, if we have disruptions by way of challenges of insecurity, then and then of course the political climate we are in a net import economy, we are. Then we are and then of course with the level of borrowing we have, we become extremely vulnerable. That even in terms of the exchange rate. And so depending on how politicians also play politics, they need to be, we appeal that we have a peaceful transition because these are livelihoods of Kenyans.
Yeah.
And we do pray that that will be the case. However, I think also when you look at it, foreign markets, foreigners in our capital markets are likely to pull off as they park their investments in other markets in a wait and see before they play a re-entry again in our market. Also from the shilling perspective, a bit of pressure, and all these may be variables that might have an impact. In some sectors where there is perhaps unfavorable circumstances occasioning job losses, that will have a pressure for payouts from pension savings in the market as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it may not to be to a critical extent. We remain very bullish that the markets will play resilience.
I hold the same faith.
Yes.
That come on, because even if you look at when you look at the previous elections,
Yes.
At least in terms of economic management, I'm not
Yes.
sure about pension scheme
Yes.
management.
Yes.
You find that the graphs were still quite stable.
Correct.
So that even if there was a slight change,
Yeah.
it is a 1 or 2 month change, and it's very small or marginal.
Yeah.
And we saw this, except of course with the instance in 2007.
Yeah.
The rest, 2013, 2017, it was quite
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah, I guess also in predictive modeling, you sort of the same actors, same players in the political scene. You sort of tend to think where it will be. And in there you inbuild your resilience and carry on. I think also Kenyans have come to the level of maturity.
I think so too.
That these are seasons that come to pass and our lives have to carry on.
Right.
Yes.
Well, you have mentioned Enwealth the second or third time, or two or three times. Tell us about Enwealth. I have a few minutes remaining, like 3 minutes remaining.
Thank you.
Tell us about Enwealth so that we get to know about it.
We are a pension administrator in 3 countries, Kenya, Uganda, Mauritius, with a portfolio of around 80 billion Kenya shillings.
80?
Yes, and serving in excess of 150 corporate institutions. And our philosophy, our passion for our customers, our commitment is to see to it that our customers enjoy a lifetime of financial well-being and dignity. In there we have different products like personal pension plan, income drawdown, medical insurance for retirees up to age 90. They can enjoy that, and home ownership products and services that we deliver for our customers. Our average return for a retail book has been about 11 to 12% net in a 5-year average. And that is part of our commitment to grow income adequacy for our clients.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you are controlling almost 6.15% of the market.
If you remove NSF, you probably place us at around 8% of the market.
Yeah.
And this we've been able to achieve in about, this is, by the way, our birthday was this week, 11 years. 11 years. And you're having me here.
Well, a belated happy birthday.
Thank you.
You are turning 11.
No, we are already 11 years.
Oh.
And so the market have realized that there is something new, catchy, promising, and more importantly, integrity. That you can bank on integrity anytime, and that you find at Enwealth.
No, I like that. Like I mentioned, I liked the package that you guys are offering.
Yes.
That with the one savings arrangement,
Yeah.
I can access a mortgage.
Correct.
I can also access medical cover.
Yes.
The medical cover you mentioned is for now and retirement.
Correct. Up to future.
Up to future. And it's not just for me, perhaps there are a few dependents also that will be taken care of.
Correct, because if you actually insure yourself and then you live here, the in-laws for your wife will come for her.
It is true.
Yeah, so
That
you
will
have
not-
to insure. You have to insure her as well.
That will not be a beautiful incident.
Yes, and you know in retirement you need her.
More than I need her.
Yes, and no, can you imagine you have a beautiful house, a wife, okay, you clear dowry, you don't owe, and you have pension. You walk to your gate singing, yeah, confident, because money you have. Yeah, you don't sneak in your house.
You don't walk on ice.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to know is, can a regular Kenyan
Yes.
who's not employed by a big corporation just walk to Enwealth
Yeah.
and tell them, I want to save for my pension? And if so, then do you have like a minimum amount that someone can pay or save every month?
The answer is yes. We have a personal pension plan and we have no minimum. You can save as little as 100 shillings per day or per month, per week. And we have a pay bill number which can be obtained on our website, enwealth.co.ke, or they can visit our offices on Morningside Office Park along Gong Road. Also, they can call us and our contacts are on the website and we'll be happy to serve them.
Yeah. So it's actually available for an average Mwananchi.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's quite something. I don't know if you have any final remarks for Kenyans as we go into elections and as we save for pensions.
Yeah, and I know not to conflict with anyone's faith, but I found this to be very interesting. Numbers chapter 8, verse 24 and 25. At the age of 50, they shall retire and serve no more. And so after retirement and you haven't served, retirement is certain, just like death. We have to plan for it, and not tomorrow, now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I was hoping you would continue. I
Yes.
guess I got carried away by numbers.
Yeah.
At the age of 50,
Yes, they shall retire
they shall retire.
and serve no more.
And
They,
serve
and say, however, they can provide some, I'm paraphrasing, governance, yeah, in the tent of Moses. Yeah.
They can offer themselves not for money because
Yes.
they are not struggling for
Correct,
money,
absolutely.
but just
Yeah,
offer themselves.
Stewardship.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. I think that is very strategic, and it's for a challenge for all of us
Thank you.
to start saving and to prepare for retirement.
Thank you.
Because retirement is as sure as death is. Thank you very much for joining us.
Appreciate and thank you for having me.
Excellent. That was Markets Today. We were talking about the pension sector and an outlook amid 2022 general elections. We had an insight into what what is the situation of the pension sector in the country? Are we saving enough? Are there people who have retired and are unable to save? Mr. Wafubwa say that if you eat your future now, your future will come and eat you. And so you need to save. You need to save for your pensions. Well, I think we'll call it a day, and we can have this conversation further tomorrow at 4 p.m. when we are talking about the macros and we are talking about the week that was. I've been your host, the Amburamogi. This is Markets Today. Join us again tomorrow. I'll leave you with the day's currency tradings on your screen. Goodbye.